Happy Wednesday to everyone. And we are here. Are we in the last week of the month? No, I think we have one more week before the month ends. And so, happy Wednesday, everybody. Today, we are going to talk about one of the probably least favorite topics that people like to talk about, which is email and text marketing. So, let me know in the comments. And if you do happen to catch this in the replay and you're watching this video, let me know, are you happy when you think about email marketing or sending out emails to your clients or text messaging? Like, do you feel like you have a strong strategy around how you send out emails to get sales in your travel business? Many of the people that I work with, they struggle with email and they definitely struggle with text messaging. Like, they're only using text messaging for sending out emails via their phone text messaging. They're really not doing any major text messaging through a marketing strategy. So today what we're going to do is we're going to sort of go through some common mistakes that many of you may be feeling that you want to avoid or you don't even know about. We're going to talk about some solutions that you can do to avoid and help increase not only your sales, but also the deliverability of your text messages and your emails. So you can't sell via email or text messaging if they don't get into the inbox. So we want to talk about how we can increase getting your messages seen by your clients and or your prospective clients in email and inside of people's phones, right? So let's get started. So for those who don't know me, my name is Sunday Gardner. I come to you every week talking all things launching and operating a successful travel business. And today we're going to be focusing again on email and text messaging and how we can boost your travel sales by using those two amazing mediums. So if you aren't using, or let's say using, if you're not even capturing email address in a strategic way on purpose, you're missing a great opportunity to have your own asset, so to speak, inside of your travel business. And so I am a big asset acquirer. Like, I want assets. I want them in my business. I mean, everybody wants assets, right? Assets are things that bring your business value, and your email list is a huge asset to your business. So if you have a large email list of people that are familiar with your travel business, they are familiar with you as the travel owner, they recognize that you provide bomb.com services when it comes to travel, you've got an amazing asset. So we want to talk about how do you utilize that asset, obviously for good and not evil, and ways to help improve how you can use your email list. And also phone numbers are also an amazing asset too, particularly um, and people may have sort of a good or bad, a good or sort of love-hate relationship with what's been going down in the text messaging space, and I'll talk about that a little bit here. But at the end of the day, having a email list and having a phone list that you actively use to communicate with your client base is a great source, great pool for you to sell your trips to. And so let's talk about how you can do that. So the power of email is strong, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say, a big Star Wars fan. And so the force is strong with email lists. And so if you're not using an email list, let me tell you why it's still one of the most powerful forms of communication, even in a digital space. When somebody gets on your email list, right, maybe you had a stranger offer of some sort and they opted in. Maybe they're an existing client of yours. The expectation is that they expect that you are going to contact them through email. So, and of course, this is not including those people who give you bogus emails. We're not talking about that. If you've got a client or a person who has conscientiously opted into something of value that you've either done for them in the past or you've provided them in the form of some sort of offer, the expectation from them is that you are going to utilize the contact information that they provided to deliver that and then also to continue the conversation. So it's up to you as the travel advisor to do just that, continue the conversation. So email becomes still one of the best tools to continue talking to prospective clients, existing clients. It becomes an amazing tool to market to your clients, to sell to your clients. And that's what we're really talking about today is you've decided to promote a trip. Let's say you've got a hot destination that you've just dropped and you want to sell an itinerary, or you have a group trip that you want to sell. My first place I would always ask you is, do you have an email list to drop it to? And if your answer is yes, we want to make sure that you're avoiding some of these common mistakes when you go ahead and send those emails. So let's go ahead and get started. It is a very powerful asset to your business. If you are not actively working on growing your email list, that means you are not building assets in your business. So an email list, and I would even dare say a phone list in 2024 and beyond, is an asset that you need to be actively working on building, because it becomes the community of people that you get to drop your promotions to in the future. So let's get to it. So we're going to talk about email mistakes and things to avoid, and then we're going to also talk about text messaging mistakes and things to avoid in that space. So we're going to start with email first. And I've got 5 for each of these that we're going to address. And I would love to hear or see in comments as I go. If I can see this small screen, just go ahead and type in comments. If you are a victim of this mistake, if you're doing this mistake yourself, but the number one mistake that I see travel advisors making still, even after I've warned you multiple times, but this month, Google, Yahoo, and most of the mail providers, particularly Google and Yahoo for sure, they have instituted a no deliverability rule if you are sending bulk email using at Gmail or at Yahoo. So the first mistake from an email promotion mistake that I want to see you travel advisors avoid is get a dedicated domain for your email in your business name. So if the name of your business is, fill-in-the-blank-travel.com, you want to have an email address that matches that. You do not want to have, fill-in-the-blank-travel@gmail.com. So it is time this year, this month, today, to get yourself a domain and then also a matching email domain for that. So that's mistake number 1. Stop sending email at Gmail or at Yahoo or at MSN or, God forbid, at AOL or whatever other domain but your own business domain. The cost, there is a cost to that. It's a very nominal cost. Most email providers charge you per user, and it's anywhere from 4, depending on who your provider is. We use Google Workspace, and I want to say I got the top of the tier. We got a lot of, I like a lot of documents. We got a lot of document storage. I want to say it's like $7 a user per month. So what I want you to do is I want you to get yourself your domain, your business. I don't care what the name of your business is. Go grab yourself a domain. You go grab yourself an email service along with that. And if you're using Travel Pro Suite, one of the very things that we do as a part of that onboarding is we get a dedicated email sending domain set up for you so that you are immediately out the gate sending email in a proper and hopefully deliverable means. You can't sell via email if your emails aren't getting in the inbox, if they're not getting open. So we want to make sure that they're getting open. So the first step in that is making sure that you have a dedicated domain. You have a domain in your business name. So gone are the days as of February 1st. Gone should be the days that you go grab yourself a business name at Gmail or business name at Yahoo or business name at anything but business name, right? So that's mistake number 1. We want to get rid of that. We want to make sure that you're sending email from your email domain, from your business domain. So whatever the name of your business is, .com. Now, some of you will tell me that, some of you will be like, oh, well, my business name is taken and I've got .org or .travel or .whatever. We're not there yet. And let me tell you why we're not there yet. Although having a vanity or it seems cool .travel, a .travel ending seems kind of cool from a deliverability perspective and from a usage perspective. The majority of people are still looking for you on a .com. So if somebody else owns the .com version of your name, I dare say you probably ought to take a look at the name of your business and consider changing it. Don't shoot the messenger. I have very painful conversations with my clients about this very fact. But .travel, .org, .anything but .com should not be your primary domain. It needs to be .com. You need to own .com, because if you spend any amount of money or time growing a brand and somebody else owns .com, you're just sending free traffic to that .com site. So that is number one. Like it's not email, it's really domain related, but I always have this conversation. I always end up having this conversation when we start talking about creating domains. So I always have to have this. So if you don't have your .com business domain procured, this is the time to do it. Do it today. Do it this week. Make a commitment before the end of the month that you go and you procure that. We're talking $20 a year usually to get a URL, and then maybe another $5 to $10 a month for hosting an email. Do it. We're not in business as a hobby. Get it done. It's part of your business expense, and it absolutely is tax writable. All right, number 2 is you are sending email and the subject line is horrible. You can't sell if people don't open your email, and the subject line is the first way that people are going to take notice of your email. So it's just like social media posts, right? It's just like everything else. People get a lot of email. You need to take heed on the subject of your emails. Your subject line needs to have something that quickly, not only your subject line, but also the pretext, the line that shows up on most of you all's mobile devices, which is sort of a sneak peek as to what the email is. That also needs to be cared for as well. So that's just another way for people to filter you out on the fly. I literally have 90,000 emails in my inbox. I'm not proud of that, but the reality is that I do. And I am skimming emails every single day, every single minute. I mean, I don't check my emails every single minute, but when I do check my emails, I'm skimming subject lines. I'm skimming to make sure that subject lines that it's pertinent to me. I got, if you guys are like any of you are enrolled in a million suppliers subject lines, I've already got that archived going somewhere else or something, and I just go through that, regular time. So all my other email, I'm skimming subject lines. I'm skimming who it's from and subject line. So if you haven't done a really good job for your clients to really know who you are, then your subject line has got to have a hook in it. It's got to have a compelling reason for somebody to want to open that thing. So you need to pay attention to the subject lines of your emails to ensure that they get open, because it doesn't do you any good to create emails that don't get open. So, I mean, it's not on my list, but it's certainly something that I say often, which is don't create a thing without promoting that thing, and don't promote a thing without measuring that thing. So if you are sending email, we want you to track key metrics about the emails. And one of those metrics is open rate. Although it's not as reliable as it used to be, but open rates are still something that I track and I'm looking at. So the subject lines are key to that. And also the second line, or the sneak peek line, it's called the pretext line. That's also important. And any email provider that you have will allow you to control the subject line and the pretext line when you're sending out emails. So that is really important that you do. Do you guys, let me know in comments, are you guys like, do you take care when you create emails? Do you take care to write good subject lines? Is that something that you do today? I use ChatGPT to help me write subject lines. I actually we take a lot of care in our subject line. So when we write the content for the email, we also write we are testing out subject lines. We oftentimes will do the same email content and we'll send it out with different subject lines and see what the open rates are going to be. Subject lines are super important in your email marketing. How many of you guys are doing that already? Let me know in comments. One, if you are already you are good with your subject lines, you feel like your subject lines are golden, or zero, if you don't really do much with subject lines, you haven't really thought about that. You're kind of doing them on the fly and you're hoping they hit. Subject lines is just as critical as the content. It's just as critical as to who you send it to is the subject line. So that's number 2, is making sure that you take care of subject lines for your emails. Number 3 is sending generic emails. Just sending bland emails that aren't personal. You don't have a name. You just say hi. You don't say hi, Susie. I mean, just in the salutation needs to be personalized. You've got their first name, use it. So definitely using their first name. If you've got let's say you've done an opt-in for a destination and you're selling Africa and you did an opt-in and you know that they got on your list, you should have a tag. You should have these people segmented. I mean, there's all sorts of terminology for this, but the key industry term is segment. You've got your list put in buckets, so to speak. That's just a fancy segmentation is just a fancy word of categorizing your people. You understand how they came in. You are and for lack of a better word, you're tagging the people in a way so that you can send specific content to people based on what they're interested in. So you've got interest tags. If you're asking questions, or you're doing polls, or you've had someone come in on your list through a particular opt-in, you've tagged them, you know that they came in from that. So keeping track of that information about your contacts allow you to send personalized information about your contacts. We have a lot of data about our contacts. We know when they come in via an event. We know if they've ever been to an event of ours. We know if they've ever opted into a particular opt-in. We know if they've had any courses. We know any trips they've got. We know so much about our audience and our list. So when we get ready to send out, let's say we're doing a promotion for Africa. We know all the people who have opted into our Africa opt-in, our stranger offer that we did or our checklist or our guide or fill in the blank, or we had an event. We know all of the people that are related to that. For you advisors, it's super important that you understand characteristics about who is on your list. If you're not doing that today, that is something you absolutely want to start to do in the future. You can start as easy as sending out a poll that makes people raise their hand in your list. So let's say in the next 6 to 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, I don't care. You know that you're about to do a trip to Bali, let's say, and you want to know people who are interested in your list in Bali. Send out a poll or send out something around Bali and ask them to click on a link. That would allow you to then put a tag on each one of those clients that clicked on the link, and you would know that they were interested in Bali, so that you could then send them specific personalized information about Bali based on their action. That is mistake number 3, is that you don't spend any time really making sure that your email list has representative information about the contact, so that you can send specific information to the content. The more specific that you can tailor your email content to people, the more likely they are to take action and the more likely they are to buy. Number 4, you're sending an email and it's not optimized for mobile devices. The statistics say that 90+% of the people that are on your list are going to see that email on a mobile device. And if you've designed an email and the images aren't optimized for mobile, your content isn't optimized for the font size, isn't optimized for mobile, the load time isn't optimized for mobile. People probably aren't going to finish reading it, aren't going to get to the punchline, aren't going to get to the call to action. They're not going to do the action that you want because one, it takes too long to load. One, it's just not optimized for a mobile experience. So most email. So again, if you're not using an email marketing tool and you're using Gmail or using Yahoo and you're just sending straight from your inbox, those inbox emails aren't really geared to help you create a message that's optimized for all. Like if you've got video or if you've got images and you want to show your amazing, destination, and you've got a sales page and you want to talk about, Africa or whatever destination, and the images aren't even optimized for a mobile experience, it's likely that people aren't going to wait until it loads. They're not going to forgive you that it's not meant for their Apple device or their Samsung device. It wasn't designed for that. I'm going to tell you, I get a lot of emails from you all, and like even your signature is not optimized. You've got images of yourself, your logo, and the logo doesn't even look good on a mobile device. Like, I mean, as much as that, like even what's in your cheers, I say cheers, like, your name of your business, you got a logo and the logo looks crappy on my phone. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about, like just simple things like that. So your mobile, making sure that you design an email, even your signature, that it considers where people are going to actually open the email, and 90%, I think the statistic is still 90% plus are going to do it on a mobile device. They're going to either do it on a phone, they're going to do it on an iPad, or I'm not a fruit user, but I've got an Android for life. But we've got a what is our thing? A tablet. We've got a tablet, we got a mobile device, my Samsung, my graphic artist, she's got an iPhone, I've got an Android. And so when she sends me a sales page, I'm like, it doesn't look good on here. She's like, oh, well, it looks good on my Apple. So even between devices, you've got to make sure that your emails are going to work through the different devices. So that's going to be number 4, is making sure that your emails look good on mobile devices. Most email marketing tools have the ability for you to view that your email content on a desktop and also on a mobile device. You want to make sure that you can do that you view the email in both types of devices. How many of you guys are doing that right now? We do it religiously. I literally will get an email. My admin sends me the email. I open it up on my phone and I make sure that it works. I make sure the links are working. And we sort of do that sort of internal testing. Now, many of you guys have gotten emails and our links don't work, so sometimes the test fails. But the reality is we are definitely testing for mobile friendliness, because I view 99% of my stuff is I'm viewing email via the phone, because I do all my email checking first thing in the morning and before I go to bed. So I'm in my bed doing that. So mobile device is really important. How many of you guys are doing that? 1, if you're doing that today. 0, if you're not doing it so much. I'd love to see in comments what you guys are doing. And then the last for email is spam filters. Like you're using terminology that is going to get you landed in spam. I don't know if you knew that. I use Active Campaign for years. We use Travel Pro Suite now, but I use Active Campaign for years, and they had this really great feature, which when you sent an email campaign, it checked to see, like you got a score to see if it was going to fail the spam filter. I don't even know if you know how to use that, but if you don't, that's something that you want. Keywords that I know just from history and doing that, I actually was in the process of like getting a spam filter list for you all. I didn't get to finish that before this call, but money, like talking about using the word, you can make money. So if any of you guys are recruiting and you're using email marketing to recruit travel agents, and you are using the fact that you can guarantee money or you can make good money, or that, those will absolutely get you in spam filters. So just understanding that there is even like we all know about Facebook algorithms, Instagram algorithms, YouTube algorithms, but even the mail providers have filters that will make your content go to spam or junk based on your subject line and the content inside of your email. So you've got to be familiar with that when you are creating content. Yeah, definitely. Someone typed, thanks for typing that, cash free, buy now in subject line. Those equal spam. Those absolutely are keywords that are going to get you into the spam filter. So there's code, there's algorithms, there is devices that Yahoo, all of the email providers are using to detect something that's spam. And if you are using that in your subject lines and also in your content, it's likely that your email is not going to get delivered. So you can't get seen, you can't sell if your email doesn't get opened, if it doesn't even make it to the inbox. So we want to make sure that your email has a high chance of making it, one, to your client, and two, it's going to actually get opened by your client by actually landing in the primary inbox of your client's email, as opposed to the junk folder or the spam folder, or not even getting delivered to them at all. All right, so that's 5 for email. Let's talk quickly about 5 for text messaging. How many of you guys are actually doing text messaging? I think a couple of you guys I saw in the comments. A couple of you guys are actually doing text messaging. A couple of you are not. Text messaging initially in 2024 is a little painful because as of third, I think it was August of last year, there was a mandate. I think it was from the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, I think is what it stands for, which says that as a business, if you want to send text message, you have to register your business, and you have to not sign your blood. It's not sign in blood, but pretty much sign in blood. And I'm being a little scary. It's administrative overhead that you have to do to submit this application. I mean, it took me, I don't know, 6, 7 times a failure before I actually got the application approved. You know, we're helping our members get approved. We've got some training to help them get approved, but you do have to go through an application process to get texting. Why do I believe that that's a good thing? I believe it's a good thing is because everybody hates getting spam text messages from random people, random organizations that you never opted into. And so the idea of this application process, it's called a 10 A2P 10 DLC. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but that's the application that you have to submit. It's a little bit cumbersome, but again, it's intended to reduce the amount of text messaging spam that we have gotten over the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years. I think it's just gotten ridiculous. I certainly have seen a reduction in the amount of spam text that I personally have been getting since that went into effect third, fourth quarter. But right now, you can't even send a text message from a bulk perspective without submitting an application. None of the text messaging providers will allow you to successfully send a text message without this. You can send it from your phone, but you certainly can't do anything in an automated way. You can't do anything in a system way through a provider unless you've done this application. So the first thing is you've got to do the application. Once you do the application and you get approved, you're easy breezy. Like text messaging is like, it's a no-brainer. And so once you do this, you've got to follow, the number one mistake is you've got to follow an unsubscribed mechanism. You've got to make it very, and frankly, email has gone that way too. I think a rule just went into place. I don't remember the date, but it's certainly like you in email and in text, you have to have a way for clients to unsubscribe easily to your messages, period, end of story. I don't care if people unsubscribe. The minute you get on my list, I'd rather you unsubscribe instantaneously than for you to be on my list and creating overhead, not opening my content. So don't be afraid to send out text messages or emails for fear of people unsubscribing. You want them to unsubscribe. I really rather people unsubscribe to my email than my text messaging, because text messaging, just the way the nature of that is, I'd rather not be sending a lot of text messaging and people getting angry and sending, like, I just get hurt when people send me, like, I've had people curse at me in text messaging, and that just hurts my feelings. But I don't know why I take it so much more personal on text messaging than I do on email. But you've got to provide, number one mistake is you've got to provide a way for people to easily unsubscribe. If you're doing any text messaging, it's very easy to do that. Most of the providers will provide just standard language. If somebody types unsubscribe, you unsubscribe them off your list. Text messaging and your email list, you unsubscribe them. Do not ignore that as a process. You need to make sure. So that's number one. Provide a way to have people unsubscribe. Number two is, when it comes to texting, sending too much text will get you will just get high opt-out rates. And so what we've decided to really do with text messaging is we use text messaging as a transaction confirmation. So if you, let's say you opt into an event and you say that you want to attend an event, we'll text you. We no longer send text every single time we send out reminders, but we do send a text when you originally opt in as the first transaction, and then the day of the event, one reminder via text message. So we do not do, I mean, I'm on several people's text messages. Like, I've opted into their text message and they text, like, I got an event and they are texting me 7-8 times the day of the event. You know, we are not doing that as much, but whatever you decide to do for texting, just kind of balance it out, right? Particularly when it comes to your trips. I think a really good transaction for travel advisors is to use text messaging, particularly like that 7 days before the trip, maybe when they sign up for the trip, when they submit their travel profile, maybe also when they purchase the trip. I would use it strategically as a confirmation of the transaction. Maybe when something fails, I may send out a text message, but we do use text messaging strategically. We do not use it for every single transaction because it just annoys people. So we don't do that. So I think that's number two mistake that people make is they get approved and then they're sending out too much text messaging, and then people opt out, and then they don't use the power of text message. They don't get to leverage the power, because once your client opts out, they have to opt back in to get on the list. That's just the way that works. So our number three is not using texting strategically and really not having a strategic plan when you decide to text message. It's a very, I don't know what the percentage is. I just know my client base that, particularly in the travel space, they prefer to receive communication via text. So again, we don't want to inundate them with every message being text, but we absolutely want to make sure that we use texting strategically. But then another thing that we're using is we're not just using phone texting, we're also using social media platforms as a way to communicate. So through our software, we allow we have WhatsApp integration. We haven't released that yet, but we will be releasing that at the beginning of next quarter. But particularly for our group trips, we utilize WhatsApp to communicate with our groups through WhatsApp. And so there's a way to do that aggregately and through automation. So that's kind of how we're going to be using messaging platforms that are not phone related, but that are actual social media. So utilizing those platforms strategically as a part of your marketing, ongoing marketing, and then also as a part of your ongoing communication and engagement with your client, I think is a really good way for you not only to boost sales, but then also to deliver on your product and your services. So then the last one that we have is if you decide to do text messaging as a marketing, and so let's say you get yourself approved, you got 500 people on your email list, and let's say you have 1,000, let's say you got 3,000, 5,000, doesn't matter whatever number you've got, you don't utilize, and this is also for email too, you don't utilize what's called a warming strategy. When you get when you get your phone and you start using SMS and you get your email, your dedicated email, let's say it's email dot, the name of your business.com, and that's how you're sending out email. You got your phone number and you start sending out emails. And let's say you want to send out a campaign that lets everybody on your list know that you've got a trip ready to go to Africa. And you just send out 1,000 emails as your first email. What you didn't do is you didn't warm them up. So instead of sending it out to every single person on your email list or your SMS list, your phone list, you got to send it out in stages. You got to warm up. You got to let the vendors know that you aren't trying to spam everybody. So you got to do what's called a warming exercise. So what I find is a lot of people, they don't know this, and they just send out, they get their email and they just start sending out mass email to get their phone list, and all their phones, they load all the phone numbers that they have. They didn't get people to opt into SMS message. So you don't legally even have the right to send a text message, and you send it out and you get a bunch of opt-outs. That's a recipe for disaster. So the point that I really wanted you to take away from this is, if you want to utilize these strategies, you want to utilize these tools, understand the usage of the tools. There is a lot of additional, I don't know any other way to say this. There's a lot of additional rules and regulations that us marketers, and if you don't think of yourself as a marketer, then you're not in business correctly, because you are a marketer. You're a marketer of travel. That you just have to, we have to know this stuff as business owners. You have to know how to send out emails and how to get them delivered in the inbox and get people to open them. You got to know about how to text people and text them in a way that isn't going to piss them off, so that they actually stay on your text message list, so that you can communicate to them and ultimately market to them. So we got to know this information. Unfortunately, that's the hat that you wear as the CEO, right? So it does pay to be the CEO, but it also means that you got to know a lot more, or you got to hire people that know this information. And many of you guys are solopreneurs, so you don't have a bunch of people that are on your team that know this information. So this is why this kind of training is so important to you as a travel business owner. So with that, the only way that you can boost sales using email and text messaging is to make sure that the message lands in the inbox of your prospective client, right? So lands in their inbox, or lands in their phone or their messaging platform. And the first way to do that is to follow the rules. The second way to do that is to ensure that you've got a way or a reason for them to open. And that certainly helps with a good subject line and content and engagement that they're interested in. And then the third way is just, again, follow the rules and make sure that you're sending messages that are super personalized, that are going to connect with your client. So if you do those three major things, all the other stuff that I mentioned today are going to be just bonuses for you. And with that, I hope that you get in the inbox of your ideal client to help you sell more travel every single day and every promotion that you do. I'll take a few questions. I'll wait and see if there's any comments. If not, I will catch you next week. So any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns about email deliverability or just email content as it relates to sending out email? And I'll take a couple of questions right now. Text messaging is a very powerful tool. And I hope to see you guys use more of it so that you can just welcome to 2024, because people who are doing transactions with you, they've purchased travel, they probably want to get their text messaging, or even giving them an option to receive communication through text. That may be something that if you can do that for your clients too, would be a good thing as well. So email is definitely not dead. And text messaging and messaging platforms is definitely a great way from a customer service perspective to fulfill your promise to your clients and deliver the information that they want just in time. All right, I don't see any questions. I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.